Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Game on Cloud 9 here, and yeah, I know it's been like a year since you guys have really seen me put out any content, but a couple things I have to say about that. One, you have the Elite Ace to thank today. Why? Because time and time and time and time after again and again, this man has been staying on me like you need to put out some content. You need to go ahead and do this for your subs. Your subs have been sitting up here waiting for you to see something from them. And to be honest, yeah, I have been slacking terribly on my channel. Like over a year, there's no reason for that, other than whatever. I mean, I could attribute it to a lot of other things, but at the same time, you know, um, I should have put out something. Anyway, I have a topic today I really want to talk about, and I'm gonna mark this as the beginning of me coming back to YouTube, like really coming back. This is a topic that I've actually talked about with a few friends of mine. We were kind of debating on it back and forth, but it's actually about Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball GT. Now, I've seen YouTubers talk about this too, so this is not going to be your most unique topic, but it's going to be something that you're going to get my take on. And after all, if you're watching this video, then you want to hear the Game on Cloud 9 take. So, one of the things that a couple of my friends and I discussed is whether or not Dragon Ball Super is a better successor to Dragon Ball Z than Dragon Ball GT. Now, one thing that I have to say about that is, in my personal opinion, just off the top, I'm going to tell you, I think Super is a better successor. However, am I saying that GT, by all means, didn't have some things that you could consider to be better than Super? No. So, what I want to actually discuss first is, let's talk about animation. Well, that automatically goes to GT. Why? Because GT definitely had a lot more fluid animation. It was more, on the hand-drawn scale. I'm guessing that was probably when the industry also probably started transferring to digital a little bit, because it wasn't like it all of a sudden was a huge jump. It wasn't like, we all of a sudden just started getting digitalized animes or whatnot. So, I mean, I would say, there probably was a little bit involved with that, but I don't actually know for sure. I haven't done any extensive research. This video, again, is off the top of my head, my cold thoughts. But animation-wise, I think for the most part, most of us can agree that animation and art, because those can be two different things, GT had that down packed. And I'll even give it designs, depending on the character. And the only reason why I say that is because, I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't feeling like Goten's design. I didn't like how, a couple of the characters looked in GT. For the most part, they looked okay, but, Goten, the way that hair was spiking off, I was like, man, it doesn't even look like a hairstyle I could even see you running with, and your slender build was looking way off. But in terms of Super, I think some of the outfits some of the characters got, like I remember when Goku got the outfit that he used when he trained with Whis a little bit. He doesn't wear it anymore for some reason. Like they gave him that design for like Resurrection F, but he lost it. But I feel like some of the outfits, the clothing, I'm a little bit more of a fan of that in Super, because I mean, like if we're aside from the classic outfits, I kind of like a lot of the designs of the characters a little bit more in Super. But I feel like in GT they definitely did justice by transformations. For example, we have Super Saiyan 4 Goku. That's what everybody's claim is when it comes down to GT. People always name Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and they'll talk about Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. They'll name Baby, and they'll talk about Omega Shenron. Those are the things they usually claim. And I have to say, all of their designs are pretty sweet. Now, in Super, I feel like, the Gods of Destruction, a lot of their recent designs actually just came out. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of them I wasn't really feeling how they were looking. A few of them looked okay. But it didn't change the fact that I'm still more excited for a lot of things that have been happening in Super than I ever was with GT as a kid. And I did like GT as a kid, don't get me wrong, because I was the biggest fan of Dragon Ball Z when I was growing up, so you better believe this. But if we were to connect, kind of going back to the whole thing on whether or not Super and GT, which one's, I guess, more of a closer successor. Again, going back to the animation and designs, I'm going to have to say, in animation and art, GT definitely has that down pat. Now, in terms of characterization, like, like how the characters actually behave, in my opinion, Super has that down a lot more packed. Or like it's a lot more definitely, because in Super, now granted, I think they screwed up Goku's character. Don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna get back to Goku's character. But Vegeta's character to me made a more of a natural progression to what I would think Vegeta would be like going from Z, onward. And of course, I know Super's canon. I realize that, but I definitely feel like, so. I mean, I'm not. But this whole argument I'm making on this isn't going to be an argument on whether or not, what's canon, what's not canon, because I already know Super is the canon source. But again, with Super, I feel like Vegeta growing to really be that true family man. He was a family man in GT, but at the same time, he didn't give up fighting in Super. And yes, he never clearly said, "Oh, I gave up fighting" or anything like that in GT. But come on now, GT, Vegeta basically needed a huge enhancement. The Super Saiyan 4 transformation through the blood sway machine that Bulma had created, which was probably the only thing that Bulma actually even made of any relevance in GT for her character. She made that to be able to, help Vegeta transform in the last couple episodes of GT. And that was pretty much the only relevance GT had on, for Vegeta. And actually, most of the characters in GT, only ones that were relevant were Pan and Trunks. But, or Pan, Trunks, and of course Goku, which a lot of people call GT Goku time. Kind of reeling it back, I guess mentioning the whole aspect of Super. With Super, Goku's character is all screwed up. Let's be honest now. And I mean, some people may not feel like it is. But Goku, to me, I know if you look at the Japanese version, I know Goku is supposed to be more of a selfish character. And, because I definitely went back and checked out some of the materials that I've seen people kind of refer to, such as the fight. If you ever look at the fight with Goku and Vegeta in the Japanese, and you hear that Goku didn't actually want to save Vegeta because, oh, he's just, I think he can change. It was more along the lines like, dude, I just want to fight the man again. So yeah, he's always been a selfish character, but at the same time, I feel like the way that they've been portraying him in Super, he's just beyond, stupid or beyond what I would expect Goku to act like. And I mean, I know Goku's always been naive, but I'm like, geez, like, I mean, looking at the Universal Tournament, the way it came back, I mean, he does seem like he just has an addiction. A lot of people have already said this. So a lot of, like I said, is me reiterating what I know I've heard some other people say, but I have to agree with that. Like, Goku seems like he just has addiction. In GT, to me, he still loved fighting. Yes, that's never going to go with Goku. That's a part of his character. But at the same time, this dude, it's weird. It's like he became a kid, but at the same time, it was like, I feel like he didn't make the exact same idiotic decisions. Like, he even wanted to face, I know he even wanted to, when he heard about Baby or what Baby was or whatever, I think he even wanted to fight Baby, but at the same time, if I recall, now I could be wrong, and people, you GT brainiacs can go ahead and correct me on this, but I don't recall Goku, like, freeing Baby or trying to get, Baby to be that sort of, new fix for him to get on some drug addict type stuff. So, versus in GT, Goku goes to the Omni King, and then we get this whole thing started up. Now, granted, yes, this is all working out for Goku, at least, in the current episode. The most current episode, as of this episode, or as of this theory video that I've seen, because it's the only one that's been out, was the Gohan and Lavender fight. So, I think that was like episode 81 of Super. So, if you're watching this video and we're far past that, I'm just talking from this perspective, but Goku sort of can, I guess, have somewhat of a mini pass, but at the same time not, only because we found out the Omni King obviously is trying to destroy all of the verses now. But I don't know, reeling it back, on the aspect of the characters, I feel like the characters act a lot more like themselves in Super. Um, and I feel like there's a lot, even though Goku and Vegeta have been the mainly more relevant ones, I feel like they are occasionally making an attempt to try to make the other characters come back into the fold of the story. Not to mention, Bulma's still relevant. The reason why I'm mentioning Bulma is because Bulma's always been a staple of the Dragon Ball story. You look at, you know, Dragon, like obviously Dragon Ball, she's the one who made the Dragon Radar. If you look at, and Z, she's the one who helped find a time machine, or she made the time machine, and she made a spaceship, or no, she tried to make a spaceship, but she found a spaceship that they needed in order to go to Namek. And we even know that she's responsible, I believe, for the gravity chamber that Vegeta trains in. So she's made a lot of different technologies. And in GT or in Super, she's still relevant as far as, constant, having that connection with obviously Beerus and Whis, and and she even made the radar for the Super Dragon Balls. So I feel like she still does things. In GT, I don't recall her really doing too much of anything. I mean, they kind of gave Trunks that role, I guess, to more or less be that new Bulma. But the only thing that I think she even made was the freaking the what do you call it thing, the Bloodwave machine. So I mean, that's something. But again, I just feel like looking at the characters, that again, it seems like more of a natural progression for Super. That's just me. Now, if we're going to talk about in terms of antagonists, now this is going to be a little bit of my biased perspective, but I feel like looking at the antagonists in GT, yes, the whole idea, or what, Baby and bringing the Tuffles back and all that was a cool idea, so I'm not going to knock that. And I think that GT had a cool concept of the Dragon Balls having this negative energy, and you have the Shadow Dragons that came into play. But I'm not sure. There were some things that I feel like that just really didn't add up. For example, looking at the first arc leading up to Baby. I'm not to say Broly. Baby in GT. You have like a lot of those villains, if you ask me, were forgettable. And I mean, maybe I need to go back and watch it. I do have all the GT on DVD, so I don't really have an excuse. But a lot of the villains that are antagonists that they were facing leading up to Baby, and on a search for the Black Star Dragon Balls, which, if a lot of you guys remember the Black Star Dragon Balls, once they left Earth, it's like, hey, you need to get these Dragon Balls back. Otherwise, Earth is going to blow up, which to me is the weirdest thing ever, that, that there were Dragon Balls that potent that Kami made, which I'm like, okay, if you look at even the lore of the story, then you'd have to question, okay, why didn't they use this in the past? Granted, yes, we know that GT, wasn't thought up at that point, but still, like, if you're going to think about it from the character's mindset, it really doesn't make any sense why nobody ever used them. But anyway, talking about the Black Star Dragon Balls, I still don't understand to this day how, when they freaking brought the Black Star Dragon Balls back to Earth, why they said, oh, well, the planet's still gonna, or I think somebody might have made a wish with them, or something happened, but why there was still the issue of the planet getting ready to blow up like 2 weeks from that point. And it actually did end up blowing up. I remember, oh, that's what it was. Baby made a wish, but I still don't understand why there was the issue of them having to go through, or basically why the planet, or the why nothing reset together, like why the Dragon Balls didn't reset, or the explosion of Earth didn't reset, and it was almost like it did nothing, like them bringing it back basically had no effect. So again, I feel like there were some things that didn't make sense, such as the whole thing with the Black Star Dragon Balls. And I mean, it sounds cool to say Black Star Dragon Balls, but to me, I like the idea of the Super Dragon Balls a lot more, something that kind of connects to more of what could be what actually is the origin of the Dragon Balls, so it doesn't seem as convoluted. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and give I kind of feel like, again, I guess the lore, I feel like everything just makes more sense in Super, as far as it feels more of like a natural progression of what you would think going from Z over into another portion of the story. Where GT, I feel like GT just took elements of Dragon Ball and tried to be Z, but at the same time tried to be Dragon Ball. It didn't try to actually progress anything because you had obviously that's why they turned Goku into a kid. Now, talking about the antagonists, I was supposed to be talking about them anyway, but talking about the antagonists again, the antagonists they were cool. I'm not gonna really hate on them, although Super 17 didn't really make a lot of sense because if you know, Android 17 really is like a cyborg, so I don't understand how you can make a second cyborg of the same guy when unless you're gonna freaking clone his DNA and then give him cyborg parts or whatever. I don't know. It didn't make any sense. But I feel like in Super, if you look at Zamasu, because I'm not gonna talk about the freaking first two arcs of Super. Why? Because I feel like they did better as movies than they did as a freaking arc. I hated the animation and it made it very hard to watch. But the Zamasu stuff and the Universe 6 and 7 tournament stuff, but especially the Zamasu stuff. I feel like that brought the story full circle. I loved Zamasu. I thought Zamasu was one of the best Dragon Ball Z villains, or Dragon Ball villains, or whatever you want to call them. I know a lot of people will disagree with that, or people will probably debate, oh no, there's no way. But I liked the idea of what Zamasu represented. He represented the idea of judgment, and he represented the mistake that Z Warriors made. And I feel like if Toriyama really wants to take it somewhere big, but I know he's probably not because Dragon Ball's never been really that deep of a story. He should. And what I mean by this is that I like how Zamasu mentions to Trunks, and this is right before Trunks went into the Super Saiyan Rage mode, how everything, the reason why all of these situations even occurred, and in the first place, like why you have him sitting up in Black Goku's body, is because Trunks decided to manipulate time. He decided to do something that the gods wanted him to do, and or they didn't want him to do, or obviously he didn't know that was what they're going to say, but you get what I mean. He wasn't supposed to do this. He did something that was against the laws of nature. I like the fact that they were really pushing that, because even though ultimately, I guess you can say they technically won, even though it wasn't really a clean victory because they lost literally an entire universe that Trunks can't return to. Look at how Goku, even like Goku dying from the heart virus, really was a natural occurrence. Yes, the androids were more or less, how would you say, they were a threat for Earth, but you can't really say they were a threat to all life in the universe. I mean, there's stronger people out there. Now, I could make an entire video about Zamasu. I really could, and maybe I will if people want me to. But looking at his character, looking at, the whole idea of him, representing judgment, and the fact that he tied back to stuff going back to the Cell Saga, so it was almost like a mistake from back then still rearing its ugly head into the story. I like that. I mean, that's just me. You don't have to feel the same way, but I feel like, again, GT didn't really reach back at, that far. And the reason why I feel like, even going back to Dragon Ball Z, why the Cell Saga was so good is because it reached back to stuff in Dragon Ball. I like it when you try to piece everything together, even though I don't know if that was Toriyama's intent, because Toriyama seems like he forgets a lot of things, but at the same time, I like how it worked. It's like, here you have the Red Ribbon Army, somebody Goku defeated as a kid. Then you have his son defeat the creation of the Red Ribbon Army. Then the only reason why that happens is because of time manipulation so that wasn't really a natural occurrence, and now that's rearing its ugly head, and then you have somebody and this all basically caused the end to another dimension. I don't know. For some reason, I just really like that, and I feel like that's why I was really into, the whole idea of Zamasu and what we represented and the whole thing with the Kais and all that. And I just think that, although you could say maybe, he needed to have better reasons why he wanted to do Zero Morals plan, I feel like he was definitely a better villain than anybody I'd seen in GT. And not saying they were bad villains, but I mean, they don't really, aside from maybe Baby tying in with the Tuffles, they don't go in deep there's not as much of a deep connection between, events that have occurred where the Z Warriors have to face them and the antagonist having a connection to that as Zamasu did, if that makes any sense. I hope I'm making sense right now to everybody. But anyway, those are my main reasons, I guess, as far as why I feel like Super is a better successor, more or less the antagonist and I feel like the characters themselves have a better connection. I know people can debate on transformations all day. I mean, I understand. You know what? I'm gonna say this. I'm not bothered by Super Saiyan Blue, and I'm not bothered by Super Saiyan Red, but I can understand why people like Super Saiyan 4 more, because it does seem like there was a lot more put into design. It wasn't, just like people say, a color swap. And I definitely, can get that. So I'm never knocking anybody if they prefer Super Saiyan 4 over all of it. I think that's perfectly fine, and I think, and I'll even give them that point. But in terms of characters, in terms of antagonists, I'm like, nah. I think, Zamasu. I think the whole idea of the whole world building with the other universes was a lot cooler. The hierarchy with the gods. I feel like we got to, really be able, they fleshed out some building blocks that Z kind of left over, because he really first, like at the end of Z with the whole Majin Buu thing, that was the first time you really got into the whole idea of the Kais. I mean, yes, we knew about, obviously King Kai, but I'm saying like you really, you saw this, Supreme Kai and, the Elder Kai and, Kibito Kai, and all that kind of stuff, and learned about fusion. So I feel like they really just built upon that, seeing the God of Destruction. Now you're seeing Zeno. Now you're seeing, angels, and, you're going further up. And in GT, I kind of felt like they just, went in a completely other direction and decided, let's just have them explore the universe, which is still a cool thing, because they still, I mean, they even say in Super, like, hey, that, they don't even know everything in that universe. You'd have to go to, like, I think Zuno in order to find out everything there is to know in that universe, but nobody's even explored that whole thing. So it's still cool, but at the same time, like, I thought there's just a lot more to look forward in Super, and the fact that now with this Universal Tournament you have Gohan and the rest of the cast that can have a possible return. It's not going to just be Goku time. I feel like that's something that Dragon Ball needed. So I don't know. Anyway, those have been my thoughts on it. Like I said, Super to me is a better successor, but you probably could have guessed that I was going to say that because I said that in the beginning of this video. But anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Leave a comment down below. Feel free if you guys have any video suggestions now that I'm back. I'm probably gonna make my next video about Baruto. And I might actually, as soon as I get that Storm 4 expansion with the Baruto stuff, because I've already beaten Storm 4 left, right, forwards, backwards, up and down, I'll probably go ahead and make a little video. Or actually, I might even do like a little live stream type thing, where you guys can play along with me, because I do have Steam. So my computer's not low tier anymore. I've come up, I've evolved. Anyway, yeah, so I will see you guys later. Maybe you'll see a crossover battle from me soon too. Alright, this has been Game on Cloud 9. Please rate, comment, subscribe. See you later. Peace.